The town of Gävle is stubborn. Every year this Swedish town puts up a giant goat made of straw, and then they wait. At 13 meters tall and 7 meters long, this 3-ton goat is erected in the town square and is supposed to stand until the new year. Some even place bets on whether the goat will make it until Christmas. Because in the town of Gävle, someone always tries to steal, burn, or one way or another, destroy the goat. In the last 57 years that the town has been building the giant straw goat, it's only survived without damage 16 times. Most years it's been burned to a pile of ashes, but the residents of Gävle are very proud of their Yule Goat. After all, it's been featured in the Guinness Book of World Records. And it's not just fire that gets the goat. In 1976, someone knocked the goat on its arse by driving into the rear legs of the statue. Then, in 2010, a security guard reported that 2 men had offered him a bribe to use a helicopter to fly away with the goat. The honest guard refused. But one of the most surprising stories has to be what happened in 2001. An American from Cleveland, Ohio, flew to Sweden and set the goat on fire because he thought setting the goat on fire was part of the tradition. He ended up spending 18 days in prison and had to pay $20,000 in damages. So how did the goat become associated with Yule? And what is Yule? Welcome to the mysteries of mythology, the origins of the Yule Goat. Long before Christmas brought twinkling lights and nativity plays to Northern Europe, Yule was the heart of winter, marking the year's longest night. Yule celebrated the sun's return and the promise of spring and its harvest. It was a time to pause, share meals and tell stories. Pagan communities would gather around fires to stay warm and connect during the long, cold nights. Before we continue, it's worth addressing the term pagan. While often misunderstood today as implying something negative, paganism is deeply tied to nature and the cycles of life, birth, death, and rebirth. Pagans saw humanity as a part of nature, interconnected with the animals, plants, and seasons, a belief that shaped many Yule traditions. But why, of all animals, a goat? In Swedish, the Yule goat is called Julebok, and in Norwegian, Julebuk. No one's actually sure why it's a Yule goat and not a Yule deer or bear. But there are a couple of theories. One theory is that the Yule goat is linked to the sun's annual re-entry into the astrological sign of Capricorn. During these festivals, a kid goat was often sacrificed in honor of Norse gods like Njord or Saturn, both associated with agriculture and abundance. The most popular theory is that the goat has something to do with the famous Norse god of thunder, Thor. Thor had 2 magical goats, Tangresnir, or teeth grinder in English, Tangnoster, or teeth thin or teeth bearer. Thor would ride the chariot across the sky pulled by his magical goats, but flying wasn't their only superpower. In the 13th century Prose Edda, there's a story about Thor and Loki travelling to the land of the giants. As they travelled across the land, they came to a poor farmer's home. The farmer and his family are kind but have little food to offer. Thor, unwilling to let his host go hungry, decides to slaughter his 2 magical goats. He instructs everyone to eat their fill, but warns them not to break or damage the bones. This is important because Thor plans to resurrect the goats the next day using his mighty hammer, Mjolnir. The family eagerly joins the feast. However, the farmer's son breaks one of the goat's legs to get to the marrow inside, a violation of Thor's instructions. The next morning, Thor gathers the bones and blesses them with Mjolnir. As expected, the goats come back to life, but something is wrong. One goat is limping, its leg permanently damaged from the broken bone. Thor is furious and demands an explanation. The farmer and his family confess what happened and beg for Thor's forgiveness. Seeing their fear and remorse, Thor spares their lives but demands compensation. The farmer offers his children, a boy named Thialfi and a girl named Ruskova, as servants to Thor. The god accepts, and the brother and sister accompany Thor on his adventures from that day onwards. Perhaps the screaming goats in the films of Thor are a nod to these myths. Reincarnation is a common theme in the story, and it's thought this is linked to the seasons, as the dead seasons of autumn and winter give way to the seasons of life, spring and summer. Another theory traces the Yule Goat back to ancient Indo-European harvest traditions. These early agricultural communities believed that the last bundle of grain, called goats, bundled during the harvest were the embodiment of the harvest spirit, a mystical force that ensured prosperity for the coming year. To honour this spirit, the last sheaf was often saved for Yule celebrations. But why did this spirit take the form of a goat? It might be connected to some of the gods worshipped in these regions. For example, in Norse mythology, the god Freyr, associated with fertility, harvest and prosperity, was sometimes linked to goats as a symbol of abundance and life. Freyr's sacred animal was a boar, but goats often symbolize similar ideas of fertility and the renewal of life in broader Indo-European traditions. Going even further back, Proto-Indo-European agriculture beliefs included deities tied to the cycles of planting and harvesting. Some scholars think that figures such as Pan, the goat-legged Greek god of nature, fertility and wild abundance, may have a distant connection to ancient traditions. Pan's goat-like features and his association with vitality make him an appropriate symbol for agrarian societies that depend on the bounty of the land. Another connection between goats and this time of year might be a lot more down to earth. Goats are a hardy animal that can survive the harsh winters of Northern Europe and were a common source of meat for early Europeans. Goats became a symbol of survival and prosperity, key to sustaining life through the harshest months. As winter festivals like Yule approached, the goat became even more significant. It became a powerful symbol of life cycles, of endings and beginnings, hardship and renewal. The Yule Goat didn't go from a magical creature symbolizing reincarnation to a giant straw statue in one go. It went through a few folk story changes in between. Around the 17th to the 19th centuries, young men dressed up and formed lively groups, moving from house to house in their communities. They would sing songs, play tracks, and sometimes perform little skits, often humorous or satirical. But the Yule Goat wasn't just along for laughs. In these stories, the goat could be cheerful and fun, or downright terrifying, bursting into homes as a dancing, half-menacing creature. While it might have scared you close to a heart attack, the goat became a symbol of good fortune. A visit from the Yule Goat wasn't just entertainment, it was luck for the year ahead. This tradition, called julebokking in Norwegian or julebocken in Swedish, was similar to modern trick-or-treating. People handed out treats like sweets, warm drinks, or small gifts to the group, and by the end of the night, the group could grow into a whole parade of revelers. The Yule Goat gradually became less chaotic and more family-friendly, but it never lost its sense of fun. Today it's remembered as both a bringer of luck and a symbol of community spirit. In Sweden, the Yule Goat was once believed to be an invisible spirit. This watchful goat would appear before Christmas to ensure all holiday preparations were on track. If holiday preparations weren't on track, it wasn't exactly forgiving. According to tradition, it might cause mischief or bad luck as a warning to get things sorted. People believed the spirit could knock things over, hide tools, or even scare those who were slacking on their duties. Over time, it took a more cheerful role, becoming a gift giver, sometimes even stepping in for or working alongside jultomten, the Swedish version of Santa. But the goat also had a mischievous side. A favourite holiday prank involved crafting a small Yule Goat from straw or wood and sneaking it into a neighbour's house without being caught. The family on the receiving end then had to pass the goat along in the same sneaky way. Today in Scandinavia, the Yule Goat has become a beloved Christmas decoration. These modern versions are often crafted from straw and tied up with bright red ribbons, adding a festive touch to homes during the holiday season. And as we saw at the start of the video, this decoration has now become a giant statue. Will you be adding a Yule Goat to your holiday traditions? Or maybe you're daring enough to visit Gävle and see if the giant goat survives this season.